Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mind Shifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeannie. Michael and Jeannie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rahma. Michael is the author of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeannie Ryce.
And the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. And today is our Memorial Day celebration, day number 122. Our call-in number is area code 646-200-4169. Give us a call with your questions or comments. We'd love to hear from you. Michael, hi.
Hey, sweetie. How are things in the big city of Springfield?
Well, so far we got here and we did a bee tour, which was very interesting, learning how the different bees work and everything, and how their actual community. It's really pretty cool when you get to know what all the bees do. It definitely shows a higher intelligence. I don't see how anybody can look at something like that and not believe that there's a creator behind the whole thing, that it just happened accidentally. It's phenomenal. And then we had a wonderful lunch, and so I hope this little place is in Springfield, Missouri, and it's called Honey Heaven and the Bistro Cafe, and they emphasize the bee part because everything's about the bees. But it's wonderful. Weather's beautiful. Yeah. And so we already have a caller, but you might want to do a little welcome introduction first, or do you want to go straight to the caller?
Cool. Well, let's just explain a little bit about our honoring the Memorial Day celebration for the 100 and whatever time it is, and the whole
122.
122. So 122 days we've been asking everybody to pick one issue today that you will look at in your life where perhaps you've been wanting to blame somebody else, and you'll recognize that you're the one who's feeling it. It's based in hostility or fear. It's yours and someone who's in hostility or fear. This is a really tough lesson to get. It's stuck in an hallucination. Anytime that you want to open your mouth and explain what you know about the world, and you're in a state of hostility or fear, you're hallucinating. You're not telling the truth about the world. All you're telling the truth about is about what's going on inside of you. And so our invitation is that you forgive that. And forgiveness, not letting somebody else off the hook for what's going on inside of you, that's pretend forgiveness. That's the Trojan horse that the Greeks gave us when they Hellenized the actual original idea of forgiveness. And that original idea is forgiveness is how I go inside myself and change the content of my own mind so that I can be free of that hostility or fear. If you're not familiar with that conversation, we've been having it now for months on the show. We'll have it for years to come. We're here every day, 5 days a week. Call-in number is 646-200-4169. And if you want to get the whole scoop on how to do the forgiveness process we're talking about, it's an ancient 2,000-year-old technology. You can find it on our website, www.whyagain.com, www.whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, about 6 links down, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. So if you click on that link, Download Worksheets, the first 4 links will give you the whole story of forgiveness and how forgiveness operates. True forgiveness, which is how you go inside yourself and change the content of your own life. And so is David with us today?
David is not. Tim is on, though.
Oh, well, Dr. Tim, let's say a quick hello to Dr. Tim, and then we'll go to our caller. Dr. Tim, how
Well,
are you?
actually, the caller has hung up. If someone that's on the switchboard wants to ask a question, please press 1 so that I know you want to be put in queue.
Okay.
All right.
I'd like to ask Dr. Tim to say hello. He was sharing a little with me earlier about an awesome worksheet that happened. Maybe you want to share a little about that from the support group, Tim.
All right. Thank you. Welcome. And it's nice to be here. We had our Tuesday night support group again last night, and as usual, when you get that many people together and they're focused on making their lives better and supporting everyone else in the group with love, things really start to happen. So there was somebody who had a worksheet about their sister who was not talking to them. And this person had gotten about halfway down the worksheet and decided they didn't even care about it anymore, and they didn't want to set a goal, and they didn't want to process because they were insistent that they just didn't care about it anymore. But every time she said she didn't care about it, she sounded more hurt and angry. So we helped her schedule or write down a goal she had for the other person. And the goal she had was the opposite of what she had experienced. She had experienced this sister being disrespectful and shutting her out. And so the goal was for her sister to be respectful and love her unconditionally. And then she got to the part of the worksheet where she cancels that goal and she asked for help to see the hidden part of her mind that was actually causing her own pain. And when she did that, she saw 2 images. One was of her father telling her at some time in the past that things were going along pretty well until she was born.
Oh.
And then she had another memory of her mother actually sending her father a card after she was born, apologizing for the fact that she wasn't a boy.
Oh.
So she cried and she breathed, and then she talked about how she felt. And she didn't feel very good. She felt really sad and really deflated. And I told her, okay, write that on the worksheet, and now write about what you see that you didn't see at the beginning. And she couldn't see anything differently. And I said, well, you just told me that when you asked for help in seeing the hidden part of your mind that was causing your pain, you didn't see your sister. You saw an image of the past about your father and another one about your mother. So this worksheet process is revealing to you that the hurt and the discouragement you're feeling in dealing with your sister today isn't being caused by your sister. It's just stirring up old hurt and discouragement you have because of realities you put in your mind from when you heard your father say this and you heard your mother say this. And about the 3rd time I explained that to her, she got it. And the light bulb went off, and she could see how she wasn't really angry and hurt by her sister, and she was probably so intensely emotional about her past memories of her father and mother being stirred up that she wasn't even seeing her sister very clearly at all. So we marked it a very successful worksheet. And she had some tears, and she kept breathing, but she was just very, very courageous and willing to look, and obviously willing to let these painful memories bubble up, where once they come to the surface, now that she's an adult, they have no more power over her than anybody else today who would say something discouraging, and now she can see, oh, this was about that person's pain. This isn't about me. So it was a very powerful process, and just one more reason that we encourage people to put the pen to the paper and start your own support group, because wonderful things happen when 2 or more are gathered doing this work and supporting each other.
Absolutely, and that's a great demonstration of, basically seeing, I love how Paul said it. He said we see as though through a glass darkly. And the darkened glass are the files in the minds that we start to build around a certain object of attention, in this case, family members, and turn attention to a family member that violates a goal that this young lady had for her father to embrace her, to love her, for her mother to embrace her, to love her, and in that file on family, with all this rejection and trauma and pain, here she is, decades later, looking through that file and experiencing pain that is accumulated through those generations. And so all those old causes in the mind that have to go, and to me, the awesome fact that this man, Yeshua, 2,000 years ago, figured out and understood exactly how to uncover these hidden dynamics that most of us never look at. The average therapist would have taken this woman and said, well, what did your sister do to hurt you? And gone on and had a conversation about the sister rather than entering into the forgiveness process and discovering for her what was underlying it, what was in that file at the bottom of the file through which she was viewing her sister. And, of course, all of us look at any and every event in our lives, and if we don't clean out the hurt that's in those files, then someone shows up and resonates that file through that glass darkly. We see that person and we think that our current trauma has to do with the person we're standing in front of instead of the content of our own minds. And, of course, when we get into that game, we point the finger and you made me angry and look what you did to me. And if I just get rid of you, then I'll be happy. Of course, getting rid of someone never makes anyone happy.
Well, and there's
thank
another.
You for sharing that, Tim.
You're welcome. There's another part of it that I think is really important. Jeannie had an exclamation when I reported the memory of what her father had said, and this woman, as you might imagine, had a similar.
Wait a minute, Jeannie. Wait a minute, tell me, Jeannie.
Just now, when I was reporting.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay, I got it.
Jeannie said, "Oh," and so she had this emotional response to what the father had said. So here this woman was last night at the end of the worksheet, and she'd gotten the insight, and she was feeling and churning with negative emotion about her father. So I had her do a quick exercise to get in touch with the feeling of love and to remember that instead of this large man with a booming voice, her father began as an infant from someone's womb who, when he was held, people exclaimed, "Wow, what a perfect bundle of love. What a perfect, bright, innocent, angelic, beautiful, full of potential creature this is." And I had her stop and think for a minute about what had to happen to him in his life to take him from that innocence of infancy to be so cold and callous that he could say to his own daughter, "Everything was okay until you came along." And she got it. She could see him as the infant. She could begin to get in touch with what his life must have been like, how he must have been stifled in his creativity and his sensitivity and his emotional expression. Because as her own father, she knows how sensitive she is. He had to have the same kind of sensitivity in him at one point in time. And yet it was squashed or bent or twisted or pushed to the point where he had to give it up, or he felt he had to give it up in order to stay safe. And when she got that piece, she began to relax into it even more. And that's a critical piece in this. If if we use the worksheets and just come up with the idea of, oh, look what this person did to me, or we get an insight about how horrible this was or that was, if we don't go the next step to see that nobody does this stuff on purpose. Everybody who ever does anything that's angry or hurtful or insulting or degrading is expressing their own pain. And they simply don't know how to express it in a positive or creative way yet. It's either an expression of love or a cry for help and healing. So I just wanted to add that.
Awesome. We do have a caller back.
Let's go to our caller.
Okay. I don't know if it's my phone, but it sounds like your phone is kind of scratchy, Michael. Tim, is it coming through clear on your end?
No, Michael is fading in and out quite a bit today.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to hear it scratchy.
Okay, well, let me see if I can change that.
Okay. And our caller, I think, is from the Vegas. Whoa, that was different.
What's that?
Okay, from our Vegas area code 702. We have several 702s on the phone, but this is 702-460. You're on the air. Who do we have?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Here. How's Dr. Stephen today?
I'm good, and I'm really encouraged that there's some other 702 phone numbers that are maybe in queue.
Yeah, there's three. They don't have their hand up to talk, but they're out here.
Oh, well, that's great because, and I guess that I just wanted to say it's wonderful that you continue to do this and to give my my support. That on a daily basis I provide information for this radio show and the steps to start to heal to a number of people, a handful of people. And I'm hoping that these people are listening. I hope there's some listening right now, because I think this is the only thing that's going to get them to the point of starting to feel better. Your radio show, I think, is instrumental to let them hear how they can start the whole process, get to hear the stories like Tim just expressed, and how they can, for the first time in their life, understand that they can start to change the way that they feel. And when I tell people, usually at the end of at least exposing them to the information and showing them the way, I always tell people, I look them straight in the eye and say, you don't have to feel this way, and you can start to feel better. And I think that most people at least sense a sincerity that this is true. And I usually ask people if they've ever heard anything like this before, and most people, of course, say that they've never heard anything like this from anyone in the past. So I'm just encouraging people to call and or to listen and to speak to you and to continue to do what they can to heal themselves. And we wanted to encourage anybody who's listening that I may have encouraged to continue and come and see us for our support groups.
Awesome. And how are the support groups going out there in the clinics? The Spanish support group still moving strongly with Claudia?
The Spanish support group continues to meet on a regular basis, and we continue to meet twice a month. Ultimately, it'd be good to meet once a week, but we haven't been able to get that all logistically working yet.
Well, we're just honored and delighted to have you on this team, Dr. Stephen. And for those who don't know Dr. Stephen Andraki, he's a medical doctor in Pahrump, Nevada, with association with clinics in Las Vegas. And we actually spent a couple of months out there in his awesome desert home. We've turned the desert into an oasis there with all that food that you're growing. And the space that you and Claudia are creating is awesome. And the introduction of the work to patients as an adjunct to your medical practice and supporting people and really taking responsibility for their lives and healing is an awesome gift you give the world and give to us, and extending this work to more and more people. So thank you.
No, the only thing that I could be thankful for is that I hear that the people from 775 and 702 area codes are listening. That would be the best thanks I could ever have.
Well,
there's several on there.
If there are
There's
any of those
several of them out there now.
Yeah, and if there are any of those 702s that are Dr. Andraki's patients, why don't you push one? You get the whole family that way if you push one now and have a question or a thought, since you've got Dr. Andraki on the line with you too. Hey, you get a free medical consult right there. Anyway, is Claudia back from Florida yet?
Yeah, Claudia's back, and she's going to be meeting, I think, this week or next week. So she's seen some incredible changes in the people who have participated. I mean, dramatic changes, and it's been very good. Getting people to the willingness to show up, of course, is always a challenge, and we're just hoping that the word passes around and that we can continue to help. But even if they don't come to the meetings, we're always happy to help. This radio show is just so instrumental to letting them know, letting them hear, because I have a few minutes to express to them that they can feel better and that it's their choice and option to feel better, and they know where they should be with the experience of holding a baby. And this is one of the ways to at least listen to experiences of people or the stories of people that hopefully make sense to them, that they want to become engaged into the program.
Awesome. Well, we're delighted, and our purpose is to introduce the Aramaic tool of forgiveness. How do you change what's happening inside your mind? And Dr. Tim, if you're not familiar with Dr. Tim, he's Dr. Tim Hayes from Crystal Lake, just outside of Chicago, has had an ongoing support group for about 6 years. And as he had just introduced us and kind of walked us through an experience of forgiveness from one of the support groups, and his encouragement and our encouragement is wherever you are, you don't have to be an expert, you don't have to know anything about this work, but have a desire to do your inner work. What most support groups do is order a set of videos, and we start watching videos and working with worksheets together. And so we want to encourage you to take the tool of forgiveness. We are blessed by the fact that we have this radio show now that we can, on an ongoing basis, support you in your questions as you start a support group 5 days a week. You've got an hour a day to call in. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. All you have to do is hit a 1. And Jeannie will know, because your hand will go up, the little hand goes boom in the control panel, and then she'll click you into the show. So it's awesome to have you here. And, the insanity, the exacerbating insanity on the planet has just got to change. I know, Dr. Stephen, you've been sharing with me over the last weeks and months the number of people that you're seeing come into your clinic that are strung out on drugs, and the craziness of that, the skyrocketing suicide, the divorce rate, drug abuse, criminality, the degenerative disease on the planet. It's like, folks, it's time for somebody to wake up. There's a cause for all of this, and from within the context of this work, you can understand the cause of everything in your life. And as you understand the cause, you are given the tool of forgiveness with which to uproot and remove that cause. Our invitation at the beginning of the show was to put an end to war, and if we use that example of the worksheet that Dr. Tim just shared that happened in the support group on Tuesday night, you could easily imagine that this woman with her reality that her sister is dissing her could have turned with a nasty word to the sister, who maybe was in a state of depression. Let's imagine, just cancel the thought, but let's imagine this sister in a state of depression says something that's got nothing to do with this gal who did the worksheet, but responding out of that dissociated pain that she refuses to uncover, her response could have easily sent her sister into a deeper state of depression and sent her off to her drug supplier for an extra, needle of heroin and ended her life. How often is that happening in our culture today? It's time for us to become aware. It's time for us to wake up that the responses we have with each other, the way that we treat each other. David Hayes
I guess he's not on the show today, but David last Sunday morning woke up to a phone call that his son, 37 years of age, had been at a party the night before, and there was some drinking and such, and he died. He went to bed and smothered in a pillow. 37 years of age. One of the things that David has said to me several times, that this was last Sunday, so of course he's been in Louisville with the family, and on Friday over 600 people went through the funeral home, and he's having these conversations with everybody about what are we doing? It's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to start to forgive, and he shared with me several times how, a coworker or someone who knew his son would talk in terms of their rage and their anger, et cetera, et cetera. And David's words over and over and over again have been how important the statement from, back in 1900, what's his name, father of modern psychology. His name's not coming to mind, but he, in his writing, says there are three things that are important, and David's repeated this at least a dozen times to me in the last week. Three things important: kindness, kindness, kindness. And we never know what burden somebody's carrying, and when just one more foul word causes them to cash in their burden. And it's time for us to wake up and start to assist each other in forgiving and removing these burdens that, as Dr. Andraki's saying, you don't have to feel this way. I don't care what's going on in your life. I don't care what somebody's saying to you. You don't have to feel this way. There's a way to change it. It's called forgiveness. Jeannie, you have a thought for us.
We have another person from area code 702. So we still have Dr. Andraki on, and 702-788. You're on the air.
Hi, my name is Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa.
I'm a patient of Dr. Andraki.
Awesome. We're glad you're here. Glad to hear your voice.
I just have a question for you guys.
Yes.
My son passed away exactly 2 months ago yesterday.
Oh,
and
wow.
I have a very, very bad drug addiction problem. And Dr. Andraki gave me the worksheets in the book, and I've been trying to sit down and read the book and do my worksheets every day, but my husband just doesn't understand and doesn't agree with it, and he thinks I just have no willpower or that I'm weak-minded, and it makes it very hard for me to sit down and do this stuff when I can feel his looks and things, and I just don't know how to explain it to him or what to say to him to try to make him understand so that I'm comfortable doing this.
David, Michael.
Go ahead.
Vanessa?
Yes.
David is on the air, too.
Okay. Dr. Andraki, go ahead.
Vanessa, you did the first thing that you could possibly do, is to take the opportunity to call and to listen and to start the process. So you're doing exactly what you need to be doing, is to be looking for help, and Michael and his work will guide you through the issues with your husband. That's not the important thing. The important thing is that you've taken this opportunity to see that you can change, and that you're and now that all things are possible at this point. No matter how your husband feels about this, you've taken the step to correct this issue about all those thoughts that are causing your upset. And I'm sure glad that you called. I think that's a wonderful thing. And Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, exactly, and you're right on track. You have to start somewhere in stepping out of the pain and the trauma. And two thoughts I have. One is that some of your worksheets are going to be around, the object of attention of the worksheet is going to be your husband and him not approving of you. And, of course, I don't have to know a lot about your life to ask the question. If you think about your power person, usually mom or dad, how much time and how much concern did you have about them approving of you?
A lot.
That's the story of your life, so now you've transferred that to your husband. Were you on the show at the very beginning of the show?
I was about 10 minutes late.
Okay, well then I think you probably heard Dr. Tim as he shared the story of the woman whose sister had, in her mind, dissed her, and when she got to the forgiveness process, did you hear him sharing that?
Yes.
Okay, so when she got to the forgiveness process, she got to see that it was really out of her family file, and remembered her dad, remembered the pain of her dad saying to her, you know, our family was going along pretty well till you were born, till you showed up. Whew, what a thing to say to a child. And the mother, you know, saying we wish you'd been a boy instead of a girl. So that's the kind of load that you carry in your family file, and your husband is now the one who's resonating that for you, and so your forgiveness work will be around your husband. So that'll be the first thing to resolve inside of you, your self-approval. And instead of your self-approval being dependent, you know, the parents usually try to make a child's self-approval dependent upon them, because if the child's self-approval is dependent on the parent, then the child will always obey the parent. And that means the child won't do anything to bring up the parent's pain. And so that would be one place to resolve. And as you start to clear that reality out of yourself, you'll stand in the space of connected self-approval if your husband decides to diss you for what you're believing or doing or what's going on. So that's the beginning of the healing process in that direction. The other thing I might invite you to do is, do you have access to a computer?
I have internet on my phone.
Say again?
I have the internet on my phone, so yes.
Okay. So if you can go to a space where you and your husband have some time that you can sit down, if you go to our home page on whyagain.com, WHYAGAIN.com, in the far upper right-hand corner of the home page, you'll see a link that is a sample worksheet. This is a link for a show that we did several weeks ago with a woman who was actually a medical doctor, and she is having a problem with alcohol, or was at that time, and having trouble leaving alcohol alone. And we started to do a worksheet around something that was currently painful for her, and something that she thought caused her anger. And as she stepped into that worksheet, and basically we just walked her through the whole forgiveness process in regard to that event that seemed to be about today. And very much like Dr. Tim shared, the pain that this woman was feeling was from a childhood experience. It wasn't from what happened with her sister in current events. This woman all of a sudden in the worksheet gets in touch with, oh my God, this is about 20 years ago when I worked with an 8-year-old boy who had cancer, and I worked with him nutritionally, and his cancer healed, and his oncologist came after me and had my medical license taken away. And she speaks about how she literally was visualizing herself 20 years ago getting a gun and shooting this other physician. That's how much rage and pain she had. And then as she starts to go beneath that, she finds that the real root of it is an issue with her dad, and is able to work through that and steps into a space of connected love and compassion for her dad and his traumas as she was a kid, for this oncologist who came after her over the pennies he was making from giving this kid chemo when he didn't need it. What he needed was some nutritional support for healing, got it and healed. And then to the current event situation that was around her losing a significant amount of money because of the mishandling of an estate. And you might just invite your husband, hey, let's take 1 hour and let's give a listen to this. And it is the most awesome example of how this work works. It's not logical to the rational mind, but it works. So if you could get your husband maybe to just listen to that worksheet with you.
Okay.
Or download it to a computer and burn a CD and listen to it. It is really a powerful demonstration of the principle of how forgiveness works.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much.
We're here to support you every day, 5 days a week. Anytime that you have a question about anything that's moving in your work and in your world, the reason why, in my experience of 40 years of doing this work, people become addicted to drugs, the reason is twofold. One, they've decided on a behavior that is unlike what humans would do. And human life we define as hold a newborn child, and you know what a human being is. So there's a a part of us that's always prompting us to that higher level of behavior. And if we've decided to do something lower, then that creates a stress and a conflict. One of the main reasons why people use drugs and alcohol is to anesthetize that higher guidance so they can go ahead and do whatever the behavior is. The second reason, in my experience, why people become addicted to drugs and alcohol is there's something painful in them that they just can't resolve. And so the drug is used, or the alcohol is used as an anesthetic. When you use the forgiveness process, you delve into the deeper parts of yourself, the dissociated parts. You uproot the source of that pain. You throw it away, and all of a sudden, one day, the drug or the alcohol, instead of being relief from pain or an anesthetic, becomes a toxic substance that you look at and you go, God, why would I ever put that in my body? And you will spontaneously stop. I see that all the time.
Okay. Well, I'm trying. I'm trying every day, like I said.
Okay. Well, kick in and do those worksheets on a daily basis and watch your pain diminish. And as your pain diminishes, the desire for any kind of drug will also diminish.
Okay.
And attend the support group that's offered there at Dr. Andraki's. We can't do all of this alone. We have to have support. So joining in with that support group will be a big step too.
And when is the next one?
Dr. Andraki's already gotten off of the line there. You might want to just check with he or Claudia.
Yeah, it's every other Thursday. You out in Pahrump?
Yes.
You in Las Vegas?
No, I'm in Pahrump.
Okay, so it's every other Thursday, and I'm not sure whether the next support group is tomorrow night or whether it's the following week. But you could probably just give a quick call to the office, and they'll let you know.
Okay.
Or it's on
all
the
right.
website, Jeannie? Is it on the website?
Pardon? It is on the website, yes.
So you could also go ahead, Jeannie.
You can go to the website and click on, if you scroll down on our website down to, it says support group information, and you click on that, and then there's another link in there that says locations. And so just look under Nevada, and it's got both of them listed there. Or if you want to email me at Jeannie, that's JEANIE, at why, again, WHYAGAIN.com, and I'll email you back a flyer from their support group.
Okay, thank you, guys.
All
okay,
right.
Thank you. Good luck.
We
Bless
hold the
you.
faith of love, and we're here to support you. Blessings. Thank you for calling. David,
and we have a caller.
Still with us?
Well, David hung up, but we do have a caller from Florida.
Oh, cool.
I'm assuming it's Florida. It's area code 727. You're on the air. Who do we have?
Hello?
Yes,
Hello,
hi. You're on.
Calling from the west coast
Yeah, am
of
I on the
Florida?
air?
You are.
Yes, you're on.
Who are we talking to?
Who
are you calling from?
I'm calling from Tennessee. My name's Chuck Testa.
Hi, Chuck. How can we support you?
I was just calling. I had some very strong beliefs about black people and black rights.
Uh-huh.
And I still think they're not treated very right in our society, even though they're supposed to be equal.
I'm in agreement with you, and when someone tears down another person for any reason, the member of any group for any reason, it's because of their internalized pain. And when we can hold a space and extend forgiveness, teach forgiveness, bring forgiveness to those who would destroy or tear down someone else for something as nominal as the color of their skin, then what will happen as that person encounters actual forgiveness is they'll remove the pain that has them doing that. There's what happens when people have a lot of pain and trauma and judgments about themselves is they oftentimes cut off other people's heads in order to appear a head taller. And the solution to that dilemma is the process of internal forgiveness, going inside ourselves and changing what is insane. You look at the newborn child. With the newborn child, open its eyes, look at the color of someone's skin, and begin to diss them for that? Obviously not. So it's a learned behavior It's something that we just need to be about undoing and forgiving from within our culture. So that's a good point. Thank you for that note.
I also wanted to say that, like, I don't know if anyone agrees with me here, but I definitely think black people, they belong on the moon. Because, you know, you think about it there, it's just like, you know, it's a weight lift. So, you know, there's no weight put on their shoulders, you know, from, like, people segregating them. And so I think they'd be free to, you know, do whatever they want.
We need to cut your phone call off. We're not getting into, I don't know where you're heading with this thing about sending somebody to the moon, but, you know, that's not where our conversation, that's not a conversation we're interested in. So it sounds like you started out with a conversation about people being equal, and then I don't know where you were heading next, but with that aspect of conversation, we hold a space for healing for you, whatever that's about, and thank you for your call. So, Jeannie, do we have any other comments in the chat room or anybody else with a hand up?
There's no one else with a hand up, and there's nothing going on in the chat room right now.
Okay, you maybe want to make a note of that phone number, and we'll start keeping a list of folks who call in like that so we know what not to answer next time. So somebody's got their hand up. Area code?
No, that was it.
Oh, okay, I thought we had another hand. Okay, cool. Anything happening in the chat room?
Sorry, I had to mute my phone because somebody came by with a vacuum cleaner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jeannie and Julie are off in the big city. They left me back at Heartland by myself while they went off to the big city. So
that's
here I
sad.
am. It was really difficult. I had to go and sit in the sun for an hour this morning, and here I am all by myself. But it's okay. I'll do a worksheet.
We'll call the all line for you. Area code 702. Area code 702. You're on the air. Who do we have? This is someone else from Nevada.
Hello, 702.
Yes,
You're on the air. Give us the name.
Hi, my name is Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
How can we support you?
I'm actually also a patient of Dr. Andraki's, and I've been seeing him now for the past couple months, and all he's said is good things about, you know, you and your wife and what you guys, you know, are all about. And man, that kid, he sounded like a young kid who was playing those games just now on the phone, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, not too serious, but yeah, Dr. Andraki, you know, I was into drugs, and you know, he told me that this program would be a great way for me to not only get, you know, what's on the inside with me out, but great ways to do it. So I'm just a newcomer and just trying to learn, and you know, I just wanted to call and see and just thank you. It's starting to make sense. It is. I'm not going to lie, it is kind of a different language to me, but I am doing my best to understand it the best that I can.
Well, it takes time to build the brain cells for a whole different conversation than the conversation that most of the world is having. And one of the things you might want to do is go to our website, www.whyagain.com. And on the right-hand side, there's a link that says download worksheets. The first four items.
I actually go to the Wednesday classes, and I have worksheets, and I attend the classes every Wednesday night from 7 to 9.
Awesome. Well, as well as that, you might want to download those 4 links. There's a new chapter 24 from my book. That'll help you to build what we call build the brain cells for the kind of conversation that we're having that's so different from what the world is doing. You know, most of the world's playing this game of, you know, you really did this terrible thing that caused all this pain inside of me, and I'll forgive you. Well, we're here to invite you to never forgive anybody ever again for anything, but rather if you're in pain, you pick up the pen, you dig out a worksheet, and you go inside yourself and forgive. You remove the source of your pain. So it's certainly a very, very different idea of forgiveness than what the world teaches. And so it takes some time. So if you read that chapter 24, you can actually download my whole book free on the website.
Yes, I do know about that.
Say again?
Oh, I've heard about that.
Yeah. So reading the book will help you build the brain cells. Say it again?
Which is on chapter 24, right?
Yeah, well, chapter 24, but you can also download the whole book.
Okay.
And read it, and it'll help you to build the brain cells for where we're going with this conversation. I think Dr. Andraki also has the book in the office. If you want to get a copy of it from him, you can do that. And as you start to understand the lingo, the different conversation we're having, more and more it becomes easier to move yourself in a direction of healing and relinquishing the reliance on any kind of drug for whatever it is you're using it for. So that's what we're here to support you in.
Well, I thank you so much, and I think it's awesome what you're doing, and I'm just really happy to be a part of it. So thank you, Dr. Ryce.
Awesome. We're delighted to have you as a part of it. And, you know, Dr. Tim Hayes is a psychologist in Crystal Lake, Illinois. And do you have anything to share? Any thoughts at this point?
Well, I would just echo everything you're saying. The fabulous part about this work is people don't have to swear off never touching anything again, whatever their drug of choice is, as long as they're sober during a period of time and applying these tools, you can make progress that will help you get rid of the need for your addiction.
Right.
So just keep doing the worksheets, reading, learning. One of the things that has been most useful to me over the years is there was a statement made by Maury Squire as he was dying, and a friend of his asked him, how can you be so happy and so carefree in life? It seems like you don't care what anybody thinks about you. And Maury said, well, if you live in a culture that doesn't make you feel good about yourself, you need to create your own culture.
Absolutely. And I guess that's what I'm trying to learn is a culture without drugs and without bad people surrounding me. And, you know, I just want my family's been there for me this whole time. And, you know, it's hard for me to understand why they don't trust me. And it's something that I have to earn back. And it's tough. I'm 26 years old, and I feel like I should be, you know, on my own, married, kids, and I feel like these drugs hold me back, and I need to keep telling myself that it's not too late and that I can do it, and I will do it.
There are many people who have been far older than you when they woke up and realized they didn't like what they were doing with their lives, and they've turned it all around. So
absolutely,
building your own culture means hanging out with people like you'll find at the groups that Dr. Andraki and his wife are running. And
they're awesome people.
Listening to the audio tapes or the videotapes that Michael Ryce has to offer instead of listening to the news or the television. And
those are the Wednesday classes that I attend.
So that's what I would offer. The more you can do to put positive influence in your life and to pump positive thoughts into your ears and read positive things, and then actually putting the pen to the paper for the worksheet process, that's probably the best thing you can do to turn your life around. So I support you in that, and thank you so much for calling.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the support and you and your wife just being there for everybody and all the doctors that call in also. And God bless you all.
Thank you. You too, Natalie.
Thank you for the call.
Michael, we have a comment out of the chat room.
Yeah, share it with us.
Okay, it's actually Terry Bowling, and he says, I was sharing with the kids last night about the two qualities of energy. Could you recap that for me? More specifically in relation to what happens within our structure when we, for instance, tell a lie or we hold the resentment towards someone in that it replicates throughout the structure.
Right. Well, there's some interesting research that's coming out of the laboratory right now, the folks who are working on the level of a cell biologist, and what they're showing is that when we think of thought, the thought turns into a molecule that's called a neuropeptide. And the neuropeptide circulates around in the structure until it finds a cell with a receptor site that matches. It lands on the cell, and the cell then replicates or copies that neuropeptide chemically within its structure. And so what we see happening is that there's a quality of energy that we engage in with any thought we think, and when you recognize that your physiology is made of energy, obviously any given energy system, there are energies that will support it staying in full integrity and clean and pure, and there are energies that will degrade it or destroy it. I oftentimes use an example where I'll have a pitcher full of nice, clean, clear water, and then I'll go through, kind of an example, I'll have a set of water paints, and I'll take a paintbrush, and I'll say, okay, now let's imagine that we have somebody who goes into rage, and I, rub the brush, a wet brush, into the black ink, and then I take that ink, and this is exactly what happens. I put it in the water and stir it around, and all of a sudden there's this little dark cloud. Now, it's just a really light cloud of black, but it spreads throughout the whole jug of water. And then, imagine somebody who's in anger, and so I'll go to the red ink or paint, and I'll stir it around and drop it in, and now we see this kind of pink-black hue that spread throughout the structure. This is a degenerative or a disintegrative energy relative to the clear water. And after a dozen or so strokes of the brush into different colors, grief, fear, sadness, hatred, vengeance, all of a sudden you try to look through what a moment ago was pristine, clear, clean water, and you can't see through it. There's Paul. We see as though through a glass darkly. When we fill our cellular structures with anger, with rage, with hatred, with vengeance, with grief, with pain, with negativity, which is something that our culture promotes, we're literally darkening our whole energy field. Now, in the ancient Aramaic language, the word that described putting a disintegrative energy, when you recognize that you are an integrated energy field, there are energies that will integrate or build your system up, there are energies that will disintegrate or tear your system down. So where you put a disintegrative energy, that tissue starts to literally degrade in its quality of life experience. It's in the process of destroying the cell. And so if we're looking through a cellular structure that's filled with all kinds of rage and anger and hatred, then, we seem to see a lot of reasons for rage and anger and hatred in the world. And that tends to, it tends to create a state where our true original being, which is the purity of love, can't function through this organism that we call the body-mind unit. If you hold a newborn child, everybody knows exactly what a newborn is, what human life is. And human life is the active presence of love. That's an integrative energy. That's what supports life. That's the power supply that we're designed as humans to be plugged into. And hate, fear, anger, rage, grief, and pain are disintegrative energies. Interestingly enough, in the ancient Aramaic language, the word that was used to describe disintegrative energy is the word sin. It's an energy that's off the mark. It doesn't belong in your physiology. So when they said the wages of sin is death, what they were saying is, if you want to destroy yourself, engage in an energy that never belonged in the human system, and you will end up with a system that falls apart, and you'll die. It's not a religious threat. It's got nothing to do with God's going to get you for your sins. It's real simple. If you put an energy in that doesn't belong, your system falls apart. The result of putting disintegrative energy or energy that's off the mark into your structure is literally death. And our culture teaches us from the get-go to do that, and that's why we've got these skyrocketing and unprecedented levels of suicide, divorce, drug abuse, criminality, and the degenerative diseases that are just so common in our culture. Our culture sells all that stuff wholesale with its disintegrative energy, with its emphasis on reasons to rage at the terrorist, rage at the spouse who dissed you, rage at the child who's not doing what they want, have tough love, et cetera, et cetera. It's time for us to wake up. Disintegrative energy doesn't belong in this field. And if we do it, we get the original, they get the carbon copy. And guess what? They may not be home for delivery. So when we awaken to who we are, we can start to change this trend of disintegrative energy. And Terry, I'm delighted to have your question. You could call in. We've got a couple of minutes on the show. We could say hi for a minute if you wanted to do that. I talked to Terry the other day, and Terry came from a pretty heavy-duty childhood, and I mean heavy-duty meaning heavy-duty. And I was acknowledging him. He's been working with his family with these tools for the last 7 or 8 years now, and how far, Gary, you brought your family system in one generation is awesomely monumental in the changes that you've made and the type of thinking that you've introduced to them compared to what you were brought up with. So I acknowledge you for the shifts that you've made in the culture of your family and in our culture in general. It's absolutely awesome.
And Ian and Michaela are sitting there with him listening to the show, and the question was for them. And so I told him to give them a hug for us and to ask them if that made sense or if they had any other questions. So Ian and Michaela, we would love to hear from you. So either type it into the chat room there or give a call in. We're down to about 3 minutes, so you'll have to be quick, or call in tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And, give your daddy a hug for us, Ian and Michaela, because your daddy was brought up in a world where, if you think you guys have ever had anything, negative happen to you, you ain't seen nothing. And your daddy's risen above that in such an awesome way. I mean, if you look at the strains and stresses that he's been through, and not that he's perfect yet. Now, we know that. I got it, Ian. I heard you. Not that he's perfect.
He says they're smiling from ear to ear.
I know. But, the changes that he's made in his world and in your world, and to lift you guys up and give you a better chance than the one he had, he deserves a crown. He deserves a royal crown for what he's done, because and I don't mean royal crown in the sense of what you get at the that kind of store. You really do, Terry, because it's fabulous and awesome what I've watched you go through and the shifts that you've made and moving that disintegrative energy out and engaging consciously, purposely, even at moments when I know you didn't want to, in integrative energy, and to be willing to be supported, to move out of the disintegrative spaces when you're there. And, it's a new habit that's being acquired, Ian and Michaela, in your family system, and I join you and support you in acquiring that habit and really, truly being the awesome presence of love that you are. And if you guys haven't had the chance yet to hold a newborn, Daddy, why don't you pick up the phone and see if you can go to, one of your local hospitals, or sometimes there are orphanages where they ask people to come in and hold newborns and support them in their being and in their love. If newborns aren't touched, they die. So it might be an idea to take both Ian and Michaela and let them have a direct experience of the awesome presence of love that they were fully when they came into the world, and that it's time for them to still experience in their worlds. And our time is just about up. I bring a stranger to the show tomorrow. Use the tools, create the best year yet of your eternal life, and we appreciate you. Bring a stranger next week or tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeannie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeannie are here every Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.